Hello, Augies Worldwide. I'm Dave Kassler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with another episode of Ask Dave. Today's question comes from Paul Pate, WA8OOM. Okay, and he asks, why would I want to get a Mars mod to my radio? Wouldn't that void the warranty? First of all, we need to talk about what Mars is. The two systems that most hams are familiar with for helping out in disasters are ARES, or the Amateur Radio Emergency Service, or RACES, the Radio Amateur Civil Emergency System, or Service. Okay. Now, there are other ways yet. I think it's the Air Force, Army, and the Air Force. The Navy and the Marines closed their program in 2015. It is the military auxiliary radio system. It's sort of when all bets are down, use ham radio. So the frequency, you have to join Mars and you get a special call sign for it. I was once briefly a Mars station, found no activity on it, lost interest. I had just been married. I had other things to do. Mars is a whole nother thing, okay? Its frequencies are very near ham radio frequencies, but are not in the amateur bands. Now, back in ancient times, when rigs had tubes and filaments glowed in the dark, most ham radios did not cut off sharply at the band edges. They'd go a few kilohertz either side. So Mars came up with some frequencies for their use that were very close to the 80, 40, 20, 15, and 10 meter ham bands that could be used by amateur radio operators using their equipment out of band. Now, Mars still exists. And there are lots of things you can do with Mars. One of the things, again, we're associated with the military here. Okay, so one of the things that was done a lot during the Vietnam War when making overseas phone calls was ridiculously expensive, is that individual service members would go to the Mars station and the Mars operators would get hold of a Mars operator in the United States and they'd do a phone patch so that the service member could talk to his family. And the only fees for that were a collect call from the ham radio operator station over to wherever the family was. One of the most famous Mars operators was Barry Goldwater, who was a conservative or Republican senator from Arizona, who once ran for president. He lost to Lyndon Johnson, but he was an icon of the conservative movement and in many ways still is. He was a ham, and he had a big station in Arizona. And when he was back in Arizona, he would often get up on the Mars frequencies and handle those phone patches, one after another for hours at a time for the service members in Vietnam. And he would pay the long-distance calls. For those of you who are millennials or Gen Z and are used to the idea that it doesn't cost any extra money to make a long-distance call, 'twas not always so. It used to be that long distance was very expensive, about 50 cents a minute in 1960s money. So it was quite expensive to make long distance calls. So people often did use amateur radio for that, and they had a phone patch that, local ham on each end would connect to their phone, and I've done these before. You could also do it without connections if you used a speakerphone. So why would you get the Mars mod to your radio? You would only get it if you're getting involved in Mars. Wouldn't that void the warranty? Well, you're going to have to go to your specific manufacturer and ask them how to do it. And they will tell you how to do it. And it will involve some changes and there may be a fee. I don't know. I haven't asked the members. I asked the marketing manager, one of the marketing managers for ICOM, about this, and he says that's a couple special hams in the U.S. that handle this sort of thing. It's pretty rare to do, but some people like to get involved in Mars. And it's the Army and the Air Force that still do it. The Navy gave up on it, saying it had no military need. But the Army and the Air Force operate a little differently, and I guess they still feel the military need to have a backup to a backup to a backup that's ham radio based. Okay? This is another way that you can use your radios for service. Right now we don't have a large overseas presence, and anyway, during the Gulf War and the Afghan War, there were other ways that soldiers could contact home. They could do it over the internet or whatever, and the Mars system wasn't used like it was in Vietnam. So there you have it. That's Mars, the military auxiliary radio system. It used to be the military affiliate. It's now the military auxiliary radio system. I know someone in our club who is involved in Mars. If you were to do that Mars mod yourself, you could very well void the warranty. So I would recommend that if you want to join Mars, do that first, attend some of the training meeting, etc., and then approach the manufacturer about how to do the mod without voiding the warranty on your system. So there you have it, Mars in a nutshell. And if you, any of you out there would like to help support this channel financially, go to dcasler.com/support. You can pick ways either through PayPal or through Patreon. Become a patron of the channel. And until we next meet, 73.